So as many of you know, I have spent the last 32 weeks reading the same short story every single week. And I have till the end of the year. So I have 20 weeks left, 20 instances of reading this short story to get me up to 52 times reading the short story for 52 weeks out of the year. That was Raymond Chandler's Red Wind. I've been reading that as sort of a challenge. Late last year, I put up a video saying I wanted to do a certain type of reading challenge. You know, where that's the bit where I read the same short story every week of the year of 2026. Read the same thing over and over again, pretty much ad nauseum. There is an end in sight, but it's still a fair bit off. And, 32 weeks in, 32 weeks in the bag. And it's got me wondering about what could I do next year. Now, I don't want to do the same thing again next year. I don't care what the story is. I said in a previous video on the half year mark on week 26, I said that this was a really good idea for the first 3 months. The first 12, 13 weeks, this worked really well. There's a lot of enthusiasm. I was getting a lot out of it. After that, it began to taper off a little bit, and there were diminishing returns each time I returned to the story, even though I enjoy it and I like it, and I still continue to enjoy it, and I don't see that changing. The story Red Wind is quality. I'm not here to go on about Red Wind. I have many other videos going on about that. But anyways, thinking on what I could do next year, I wanted to do a similar challenge that had me returning to the same material multiple times without it getting it to be a bog like this has turned into. Or inevitably, this is how it would have been. Everyone knew going in that 52 times is too much. I knew that, and I chose 52 times just because, that is that's the bit, right? Like, you do it for the whole year, and that's pretty funny. I don't know that it's that funny, but it is pretty funny. But what I'm thinking of doing, and it's another of those things where I look at this, and I think that's going to be really funny. And beyond just being funny, there would be a certain quality to it. That is, there's some virtue to doing it for the intellectual pursuit, for the challenge, for the rigor of literary training, and what I have imagined for next year. and this video may just be a plea for help, so that the people who see this can write in the comments and tell me not to do it, because when I get into what this is, it probably is too much. But what is it? I have this paperback. It's Classics of Modern Fiction, 3rd edition, edited by Irving Howe, and it says 10 short novels. Now, it probably would have worked out better if there were 12 short novels. I say better. We'll get into it. You pick one novel for each month, and you read it for every week in that month. So each one 4 times for the 12 months. But 52 weeks in a year, 10 novels. That's reading each of these novellas 5 times over, and then having a 2-week grace period somewhere within the year. Anyway, let me just read the titles in this. It's it's a Classics of Modern Fiction. Modern covers a pretty wide margin here, but see, we have Notes from Underground by Fyodor Dostoevsky, The Death of Ivan Ilyich, Leo Tolstoy, The Machine Stops, E.M. Forster, The Secret Sharer, Joseph Conrad. Now, I have read Secret Sharer before, but that's been, 5 years ago maybe. Death in Venice by Thomas Mann, The Metamorphosis by Franz Kafka, The Displaced Person by Flannery O'Connor, Seize the Day by Saul Bellow, No One Writes to the Colonel by Gabriel Garcia Marquez, The Temptation of Jack Orkney by Doris Lessing. And so this is what I think I can do starting in January of the new year. Just front to back, you start from Note from Underground, You read that 5 times, and then you move on to the next one. And in this volume, each one is accompanied by an introduction from the editor. And so what I figured, what you could do if a person was going to do this, is they read it 3 times with just themselves. The one's going in blind, the one's to reread it. The third time you reread it again, and then in those subsequent 2 readings, you read it alongside the introduction. To compare your thoughts with the thoughts of Mr. Irving Howe here. Here's where we get into the room. Okay, so I've been doing this Red Wind thing, and Red Wind is 18,356 words approximately. According to my estimate, that's where we're at. To read Red Wind 52 times in a year, you will have read 954,512 words, approximately. According to my estimates on the lengths of all these stories now, you can see my charts here. It's hard to find exact word counts for all these stories. I don't know. Some of these are translations, so that varies things a bit. But you think that if they are classics, that the information of just like basic technical information about how long it is, how many chapters, and all this sort of stuff, even without looking at the substances of the stories, the actual words, like that information you think would be readily available. But no, you gotta go through all kinds of hoops to get at it. Anyways, where was I? Okay, reading each of these stories 5 times, not including the introductory material, only the stories. 5 times in the space of a year, you will have read 1,236,640 words, approximately. That is 1,236,640 words is 67 1/3 Red Winds, right? That is the equivalent of reading Red Wind for an entire year, and then for a whole another third of a year. If I were to go into the quarter of next year reading Red Wind, I would have read an equivalent number of words as reading this book 5 times, sans any supplementary material by one Mr. Irving Howe. And here's their spot on in. That's an absurd number of words. It's an absurd number of times to read this stuff. I mean, just what is it? Notes from Underground. According to my estimates, now somebody can correct me, and if they have a better estimate for it, I will readily accept it. But according to my estimate, that novella alone is around 44,000 words. That's about the same length as Fahrenheit 451, more or less. But that alone is 44,000 words. If I were to read that 5 times, 5 weeks in a row, then it would take me multiple days to read it. So in the space of 5 weeks, I would be spending at least 10 or maybe 12 days reading that one novella in such a short space. Now, people have read Notes from Underground many, many times. They usually do it over the course of years. And that's just that one. Of all the stories in here, only 4 of them are shorter than Red Wind. And that's only by about 1,000 or 2,000 words. Most of these stories excel Red Wind, anywhere from 3,000 words to just outright doubling the number of words in Red Wind. You go from like 18,000 in Red Wind to say 36,000 in some of these stories. So these are the kinds of numbers and figures I needed to have done on the Red Wind stuff before I started out, but I may not have done it otherwise. And on this, maybe I shouldn't have done it. Maybe I shouldn't have done these facts and figures and just decided I was going to do this next year and let it sort itself out. But I'm at this point where that is an intimidating amount of effort to put into something wherein the reward reward maybe is not so great. Like I said, with all the Red Wind stuff, like I come to the like there's a there's a finish line coming up, and when I cross that line, there's no crown, there's no gold medal. This is a fool's reward. I have achieved something with no actual substance to attach to it. And then I'm thinking, oh yeah, why don't I do that again? And this time make it more difficult. You know, at least change the parameters somewhat. Now, that said, like some of these stories are incredibly long. It will take me longer than usual to read them than it has taken me with any reading of Red Wind. But, you know, there is that 2 week grace period in there. Like, is there a way to divvy up that 2 weeks across the whole year to make the reading more palatable? You know, it's a I want another set of eyes on this to sort this out and to make it work. Anybody who has a copy of this and can look through it and like look at my numbers and you know what I'm figuring on this, or anyone who can I either want somebody to convince me to do it or to convince me not to do it. But either way, I have to be convinced, because like I say, it's an intimidating amount of effort for no reward. But that's really funny. That's there's there's a certain humor about it, a point of pain, like far in the future that looks funny from right here. But you know, like when you're living in it, maybe it's not so funny. You know, it's funny thinking about this when you're close to wrapping up the Red Wind stuff, like relatively close. But you know, when you're in it, when you're in that 5th week of Dostoevsky or Tolstoy or Joseph Conrad, does it look as funny from that side as it does from this side? I don't know. I want other people to think about this. And I'll put this up there. Like I said with Red Wind, that was a very rewarding experience for the first 3 months. If someone else out here could, let's say, put together a program, you know, this really, I'm not going to put any limits on it. Whether, you know, some sort of short story reading program for the year, which puts me in a position to read the same material several times in a certain frequency. Like that 1 week frequency is pretty good. I would want to keep that going. You know, if you have, you know, a list of say 4 or 5 or 6 short stories, all right, nothing I'm going to be having to read for, you know, 6 months. But if you have a program where I read the same short story for say, you know, 4 weeks or 5 weeks or maybe 8 weeks in a row or 10 weeks in a row for the, you know, the rest of the year, however that divvies up, I'd be amenable to hearing your suggestions, somebody putting together some sort of, you know, regimen for this crazy experiment and seeing what you can come up with. I don't know. Maybe I've gone crazy. Yeah, all Red Wind and no play makes Levi a dull boy, as I've heard a couple guys say. Yeah, it's. I have nothing more to say about this whole thing. I'll talk to you later.